Good morning. All right, so you probably saw on our last video the state that our leeks are actually in. The elephant garlic's gone extremely yellow. Now, we've pulled up one early this morning and one of the bulbs is actually rotting. Now, the biggest issue that we've had in this particular bed is flooding. This year, late winter, early spring, it was incredibly wet here, where the ground was just sodden all the time. Now, we didn't know this prior to planting our garlic in this area, that this area was going to flood and be as wet as what it was. But hey, we learn. So we're going to actually show you today the state of our garlic, what we're going to pull up, what we're going to do, and even if it's even usable. One of those things with garlic, there's a few different varieties. You've got Softneck, you've got Hardneck, and you've got elephant garlic. Now, your Softnecks are normally harvestable between mid-June to end of June. So it's a slightly quicker crop than the Hardneck. The Hardneck will be harvestable about mid-July to the end of July. And elephant garlic around about July as well. But it all dictates on what's going on with your garlic, whether it's starting to get pest problems, water issues, nutrients, how yellow it's going, because without the green in the leaves, your bulbs are not going to grow anymore. The garlic needs the green for photosynthesis to actually grow and develop that bulb. So today, we're actually going to have a look and see if we can salvage any of this garlic whatsoever. So first off, we're going to actually have a look at some of our Softneck varieties. Now, we've got two Softneck varieties in. I don't think we've planted any Hardneck varieties, but the Softneck ones we're going to have a look at first and see if we can salvage any. Now, this is one of the Softnecks that we've pulled up. Now, really, they could do with another week or two, and this one actually didn't look too bad. But we're going to take it off. It looks like the bulb actually hasn't split, which is a bit weird considering these were in at -10. So if I just take back this one outer layer, you can see the bulb. Now, to me, it doesn't feel like it's actually separated any. And lo and behold, don't know whether you can see that. I'll try and get a close-up. Allium leaf miner. That's what they look like. So basically, this is now a completely wasted crop. How frustrating is that? Okay, so we're going to move on to our elephant garlic, but I haven't got high hopes for this because these are planted right next to the Softneck varieties that have definitely got Allium leaf miner. And yes, it has. How disappointing. Now, these would have been so much bigger. Now, we have got some bigger ones than this one, but this would have been so much bigger if it hadn't been attacked, because it wouldn't have been harvested till mid-July to end of July, and we probably would have had some fantastic cloves. But I can see the trails before I've even lifted the leaves. Now, none of this will go wasted though. It won't store because the bites and everything else will just introduce diseases into it. So we just need to process it, go through the cloves. What I'll do is chop it up and put it into the freezer and store it that way. It just makes it a little bit easier as well, actually, because we can just break off what we want for our meals all through the year. But how disappointing. It does mean that we can't grow any more alliums in this bed. And I'm really hoping that the other bed with the other Softneck variety that's in a separate bed hasn't got this. Plus I've got 2 other beds of onions, which now are a big risk of losing those. Okay, so this particular variety, I actually think we've dodged a bullet. There's no Allium leaf miner. Because the beds are so close, we're pulling them anyway. I just don't want to take the risk. So once you've pulled and you've trimmed your end, you can literally just peel back the very papery thin cover that's actually on it. And because I'm doing it on camera, it doesn't come off in one. You can see that these bulbs have actually split quite well. Now, for us to store these long term, because it's the only ones that we can store, these are going to have to be dried for around about 4 weeks. Now, we'll dry them in the sun for a week or so, if we get any sun, because it's absolutely freezing today. It's so cold. So anyway, we'll dry it in the sun for a week or 2, and then the rest of the time under shade in an airy space. And this hopefully should be enough to cure these for up to a year, or up to spring next year at least. Now, I'm probably not going to save any of these bulbs for planting for next year, and in fact I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do next year with the garlic. But how beautiful is that colour? It's a lovely purple hue. Purple hue. Okay, so we've gone through the garlic, and these are the ones that are going to be fine to store. No issues with any Allium root miner on these. So we're going to actually put these into the dryer and get these dried to store for the next, well, until at least spring at least. They're not massive though. But we can, for next year, obviously we can't plant in the same beds, but we can actually use micro mesh netting. I think it's from March to April and then October to November. I'll double check that. This is when the adult fly is more active, and it will land on your plants and basically lay its eggs, and this is what happens. Now, we've seen them both at the stage of the maggot stage and the pupae stage. Interestingly, it was first detected in 2002. So before that, we didn't have this particular issue, not with this variety of fly anyway. It's not a bad haul, but it could have been so much better. Now, these ones is a mixture of our elephant garlic and some of our Softneck varieties. These are going to have to be used. These are not going to store. Now, the biggest downside to still using them, the maggots and the pupae actually go down quite a bit into the bulb. So it's going to take some prepping to actually make sure that I've got clean bulbs. They're going to be chopped up finely and stored in the freezer. I don't want to waste. I would rather use as much as I can and get something out of it than just to get rid of everything. Now, all the excess greenery that we've dealt with, we can't incinerate at this time of year. So it's going to be bagged up tightly and thrown in the general bin. Do not put it on your compost bin, because it will just still hatch all these extra flies around. Now, as far as I'm aware, there is no pesticides or anything that you can use, not that I want to stop this particular issue. It's all about the netting at certain times of the year. So it does look like this area is quite prone to this particular fly. Again, we've grown onions for years and we've never had the issue. But since being on this plot, there seems to be a lot more. So for next year, completely different area, and we'll net them with that very fine micro net to stop the fly. The flies are very, very small. But hey ho, just means I'm going to spend extra hours in the kitchen trying to prep this lot. Now, the other issue we have, we've grown quite a lot of alliums this year, and it looks like some of my onions are actually starting to deform on the leaf. which if that's the case, they'll have to be harvested. Now harvesting those onions so small, it's going to be another ball ache. They were literally supposed to be in the ground for another, well, probably July, maybe even August. So we may have lost all our onion crop as well. And I'm gutted really, because the onions that we planted from seeds are looking so healthy. But again, got to look at the positives. These things happen. I've seen it where people have lost whole crops to pigeons or slugs or anything like that. It does happen. We can make the most of the garlic that we've got. It will still last us pretty much most of the year. We just have to do things differently next year. The leeks though, which is really disappointing. I think the leeks we're gonna lose all the leeks. We'd actually intersown all the leeks as well around these particular beds or this particular area. So there's a really good chance that we're going to lose the leeks as well, and the onions. Positives, I get some beds to actually plant other things that are not alliums, which these particular grubs and bugs won't do any damage to. But not quite how I wanted it to go to plan.